Kefee D can't afford a lawyer? Are we witnessing the rise and the fall of a gangster turned snitch? Edie Fall won't represent him. He couldn't come to an agreement with Ross Goodman. Will he be appointed a public defender? In that case, Kefee D doesn't stand a chance. Let's get into some of this straight game.
Blackjack. Life is like cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's your boy DELRAY, Richardson, platinum artist, platinum songwriter, Straight Game TV. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button notification. Also subscribe to the channel. And like I always say, if you want to be one of the first people notified when I drop some of this straight game, please do me a favor and click on that little bell notification right below this video. I'm going to get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, Kefee D cannot afford a lawyer. As we've seen in the past, you know, if this is any kind of an example of, you know, doing too much talking, or letting your mouth write a check that your body can't cash, or your bank account can't cash, or is insufficient of funds, this Kefee D situation is one of those situations. As we've seen with the last court date, Ross Goodman, who was referred to Kefee D by his former Los Angeles lawyer, Edie Fall, right? Edie Fall, for whatever reason, couldn't represent Kefee D and was trying to help Kefee D find an attorney in Las Vegas. Evidently, Kefee D couldn't come to an agreement with Mr. Goodman. I don't know if it was on price. I don't know whatever other kind of deal they were trying to work out at that particular time. But evidently, whatever kind of deal it was, it didn't get worked out. And during the last case, you heard Ross Goodman basically throw up, a couple of shots at the rim of in trying to offer up some kind of defense for Kefee D. Basically, Attorney Ross Goodman said on October 19th that he saw obvious defenses in the murder case, pointing out to police and prosecutors do not have a murder weapon or the car used in the shooting, as well as no witnesses from 27 years ago. Prosecutors said that Davis is the last person alive who was in the car that night, right? And so when we talk about, possible defenses, that kind of like fell on deaf ears, if you will, because at the end of the day, we know that Kefee D is his own worst witness. And I think that's the problem that he's really having in finding an attorney. I think Mr. Goodman was throwing that out there and just to see, in public, in the court of public opinion, what kind of response he would get, from throwing those out there. And he wasn't even actually signed on as being Kefee D's attorney, but as, talking to Kefee D about being his potential attorney at that particular time. And so, yeah, it looks like, they say the judge, they might do some kind of accounting, to find out whether Kefee D can be declared indigent. Basically, Goodman told the Associated Press on Wednesday, November 1st, that Davis, 60, could not meet the terms of an agreement that the judge in the case gave 2 weeks to hash out on October 19th. Goodman did not specify what was holding up such an agreement. When Davis appeared in court today, basically the Clark County District Judge, Tiara Jones, basically she could have ordered, a financial accounting of Davis' assets, determine if he can afford a lawyer or if she needs to declare him indigent and name a public defender to handle the case. So, let this be a lesson. Once again, Kefee D has nobody to blame but himself. I understand that Vlad basically was talking about how he had paid Kefee D money to do a potential interview, and Kefee D allegedly did not perform that interview but kept the money. So yeah, it's looking real tough. And I'll say this: if Kefee D is left with just a public defender defending him, he doesn't have a chance. You know what I mean? And they also said that they could also hire or the court can basically appoint a private attorney, which would be at the taxpayer's expense, if you will. A deputy in the Clark County Public Defender's Office has told the AP that they are reviewing the case to determine if they can represent Davis or if they have a conflict of interest, such as representing other people involved in the case in the past. The judge may also name a private practice defense attorney to represent Davis at taxpayers' expense or assign a public defender from the county. So right now, it's looking rough for Kefee D. But when you think about it, here's a guy in Kefee D who was offered every opportunity that one could be offered. They gave him a proffer agreement. He cooperated with the federal government. He cooperated with Greg Kading in their investigation. He gave them what they wanted, basically on the Tupac situation. And they didn't give him immunity, but they gave him damn near what immunity is. All he had to do was just be quiet. But he couldn't do that. He went to write the book. Then he went on every channel that would pay him any kind of money, talking about, his involvement, talking about who he handed the gun to, talking about who was in the car, talking about what they did afterwards. And like I said, once again, Kefee D has nobody to blame but himself. And he couldn't think about anything other than at that particular time, because I think, that attention thing is kind of addicting after a while, if you want to be honest. You had the book out, being associated with Tupac, being this guy who used to be in charge or be a shot caller and so on and so forth. We see now that none of that means anything. And at this particular time, he can't even afford a lawyer. You know what I mean? He can't even afford a lawyer. So if this is any kind of example or warning to any other people who want to try to play, they want to be, a gangster, want to be hard, want to be all of this, make sure you got money for your lawyer, man. Anybody that's claiming to be, and not only that, if you're hanging out with people that claim to be this, that, and the other, make sure they got money for a lawyer. You can't hang out with people, talking all of this pre-dawn gangster stuff and how they a gangster. And this is what Kefee D was basically doing on the Art of Dialogue. I'm a gangster, homie. You know what I mean? But you can't afford a lawyer now. I mean, and that's not a slight at Kefee D. This is just the reality of it. Edie Fall won't represent Kefee D. Ross Goodman won't represent Kefee D. And the crazy part about it is, in a case like this, you would need at least $100,000 to start, probably $500,000 to really go through with the whole case, to have any kind of formidable defense, as Mr. Goodman tried to offer up through his little statements in the press in regards to that, right? But at the end of the day, Kefee D couldn't afford it or afford his services, or they couldn't come to some kind of agreement. And usually, as we know, with any kind of agreement involving a lawyer, it's the agreement involving payment. Because if a ham sandwich got, $3, $4, $5 million, the lawyer coming out, he gonna represent that ham sandwich, from that perspective, because the ham sandwich can pay. But at this particular time right now, what it looks like, what it appears to be, is that Kefee D is going to be represented by a public defender, in which he won't have a chance. Because the same state that is charging you with the crime that he's accused of is the same state that's going to be appointing your public defender from the county office. And I see that as a no-win situation. You know, if I was Kefee D, under the circumstances, which I never wish I would be, or, you know, but under those circumstances, he's better off taking a plea. He's better off trying to talk to the prosecutor and saying, hey, you know what? Let me own up to what I did, because basically he admitted to what they're charging him with. So why do you want to fight? Go ahead, waive all your rights, go on and, you know, come to an agreement, and hopefully, you know, you can make it out this thing alive. Other than that, he go to court with a public defender, he doesn't have a chance. He doesn't have a chance in hell of coming out of that courtroom, you know, because now, you know, he's frowned upon. You know, this is the example of, you know, at one time living the high life, you know, being a shot caller and all of those things, to now, you know, nobody's there for you. Nobody's going to help you out. Ain't nobody going to give you no money, you know, and partially because you talked yourself into a jail cell. You know, when you think about that, you know, basically he talked himself into a jail cell. So, you know, if somebody even wanted to be sympathetic, how could they? It's like, hey, man, you did this to yourself. All you had to do was just be quiet. So, yeah, I just wanted to offer this up. And so, yeah, it looks to me like, you know, yeah, you know, and then they go on to say, it said, we're just not sure at this point how this will play out and who will end up representing Kefee D, said Jordan Savage, assistant special public defender. Davis' longtime Los Angeles personal lawyer, Edie Fall, said he expected a public defender would be named to defend Davis. Fall previously said he was helping Davis find a defense attorney in Nevada and confirmed Goodman's involvement 2 weeks ago. Davis is expected to plead not guilty to the murder charge, which could land him in prison for the rest of his life. It's serious, man. So I would think that Kefee D needs to, you know, he hadn't had no problem talking to the feds and to Greg Kading and to copping all of the things that he copped to doing that to get the proffer agreement. I think he needs to do the same thing, you know, that he's always been doing. He needs to go and talk to the prosecutor and see if he can work himself out a deal. Because with a public defender, Kefee D doesn't stand a chance. And if, like I said, he wants to fight, if he fights and loses, oh, they're going to give him life. You know, possibly, who never knows, if he goes in and said, hey, he takes a plea for whatever they offer him, he just might see the light of day again. Your boy DELRAY, straight gang.